Much of the Little Rock Metro under a winter storm warning this afternoon. Some school districts sending students home as drivers deal with a slick situation out there. This is a live look at Dardanelle up in the River Valley. You can see that things not going so great there, that there's some ice or sleet nonetheless out on the roads there. We'll have a live update on the roads here in Central Arkansas here in just a moment. But first, we want to get straight to meteorologist Nathan Scott with a look at radar. Nathan, it just started sleeting quite heavily out in the THV 11 Weather Garden.
Yeah, we really haven't seen too much here in Little Rock, Michael, except a little bit of light freezing rain. But that sleet's coming down at a pretty good clip, and that's going to make the road conditions go downhill very quickly. So you have to take it slow. Give yourself some extra time. The road conditions are going to continue to deteriorate through the course of the afternoon because we have more moisture arriving from the south and southwest. First of all, take a look at the temperatures. Everybody from Little Rock and off to the north and west is below freezing. When you get into the 20s, anything that falls is going to freeze on contact, especially if it's freezing rain. And this pink area is primarily a lot of sleet to the north, but there are some pockets of freezing rain here and there. We want sleet. Sleet is much better to deal with than freezing rain. Here's more of what we're looking at. Potential of, some thunder sleet taking place into Conway County. Zooming in, Conway, you're getting blasted with some heavy sleet at this time where that dark purple is, but you see the bolts of lightning. So there's some thunder mixed in. Don't be surprised if you hear some rumbles of thunder, and this is quickly making its way off to the north and northeast, and it will produce a quick accumulation of sleet in a short amount of time. Looks like there's freezing rain for Little Rock and down to the south. This is just the beginning of the winter storm, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to continue to see these waves of moisture move in through the course of your Wednesday into tonight, and the precipitation could become heavier tonight. So winter storm warning remains in effect from Grant County, Hot Spring County, off to the north, including Little Rock Metro and pretty much half of Arkansas. Let's take through time here. This is future clouds and radar. Notice what happens. The temperatures, they don't budge at all from Little Rock off to the north and west, so that chance of freezing rain and sleet will continue throughout the day and even into tonight. I'll let you know how much ice accumulation we could see and when this all wraps up coming up later.
Thank you, Nathan. A few reminders for you. Don't forget to download the THV 11 app. You'll be able to find the latest forecast and live newscasts as the winter weather continues making its way across Arkansas. You can also see the full list of school closing there, as well as on the bottom of your screen. And don't forget to send us your weather photos. The app is free to download on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. Some Central Arkansas school districts sending students home early this afternoon. Those include North Little Rock and Pulaski County Special School Districts. The reason for those early dismissals, of course, the roads. Some are already icy. THV 11's Ian Russell is live with a look at the roads and how crews are preparing. Ian.
Hey, Michael. Yeah, for the most part, those city streets here in Little Rock don't look too bad until you look behind me and you see 630. Obviously, a lot of this, I guess, freezing rain, freezing sleet, I'm not exactly the right term for it here, is coming down and causing some backup. So I'm going to step out of the way and show you this here. This is 630 that we're looking at. We heard there was an accident up a little bit ahead that's causing some of this backup, but it's also likely it's probably people just heading home, trying to beat some of this accumulation, some of this weather home early. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some iDrive Arkansas cameras though to give you a look around the rest of Central Arkansas here. Of course, things are not looking as nice. This is Mayflower here. A lot of buildup there. Crews from all over, of course, going to be working well into the night to keep these roads, honestly, as best they can, clean and clear. RDOT tweeted just a little bit ago and say they're moving all 10 of their districts to 24-hour coverage, saying this is primarily ice they're dealing with, not really snow. Here in Little Rock, though, the Public Works Director told me he thinks they're in a good spot if this just ends up affecting roads and bridges. Now, that would drop the number of places that they're looking at as far as the city streets here. They got about 2,000 miles of city streets here in Little Rock. If this does end up just being the ice and snow and not near as much as what we saw with this last winter storm, really what they'll end up looking at is the bridges and overpass, and they only have about 120 of those to deal with. Now, obviously, Michael, a lot to look forward with this and a lot to keep you updated on, with more coming up at 5 and 6. Live in Little Rock, Ian Russell, THV 11 News.
All right, Ian, go get warm now. Let's switch gears to a THV 11 update. Little Rock City officials have just wrapped up their weekly crime update. They discussed a number of topics, including the violent crime rate. From January 1st to February 21st, violent crime is up more than 35% compared to the same time frame last year. Homicides are up about 43%. The mayor says those victims' families are hurting.
Can never forget, those 64 families last year, the 10 families right now. I make it a point as best as possible to reach out to different family members when things happen. And I can tell you, families are hurting.
City officials say they're working to address the root of the crime issue. One example, the city is working to hire additional social workers for the Little Rock Police Department. Ukraine is now under a state of emergency. It's mobilizing its National Guard in response to the ongoing threat from Russia. The U.S. says Russia continues to send forces into rebel-held areas of eastern Ukraine. Satellite images show the Russian buildup along Ukraine's borders growing, including field hospitals being set up. Yesterday, President Joe Biden announced the first set of sanctions against the country, targeting 2 large banks with ties to the military and cutting the country off from Western financing.
These have been closely coordinated with our allies and partners and will continue to escalate sanctions if Russia escalates.
President Biden warned that the sanctions against Russia will have an impact on Americans, especially at the gas pump. Just how much are we talking about, though? Errol Barnett breaks down what you need to know.
We are all likely to feel this in some way, shape or form. Fuel prices are steadily creeping higher, and there are several factors at play, including newly announced sanctions against Russia, but you also have high fuel demand in Europe and a limited global supply. All of that's pushing the price for a barrel of oil steadily toward $100, although it's not there just yet. Gas prices are continuing their upward march, with a gallon of regular now costing an average of $3.53. The cost of heating oil, that's also up. It's costing Americans 47% more now to warm up our homes with heating oil this winter than it did a year ago. Now keep in mind, Russia is a major exporter of oil and natural gas, selling 12 and 17% respectively of the global supply. So whatever the economic punishment Russia receives here in the coming days and weeks, it is likely going to put increasing pressure on the global supply chain, which we already know is quite fragile. Now, the Biden administration is trying to coordinate with major fuel producers and consumers to secure global energy supplies, and it has not ruled out eliminating the federal gas tax, but even those efforts are likely to have only an incremental impact. Errol Barnett, CBS News, Washington.
Gas prices aren't the only thing on the rise. Rent across the country continues to climb, and the trend is forcing tenants to make some tough choices. According to Realtor.com, rent prices are up nearly 20% nationwide compared to last year. Experts say demand outpacing supply plays a big role in that.
We see that there's low vacancy, and so that means it's renters that are competing for units and not landlords competing to have renters fill their units.
Unfortunately, the increases are expected to continue. A survey shows 61% of landlords are planning rent hikes on at least one of their properties this year. The increases are hitting Arkansans especially hard. Arkansas renters, according to ApartmentList.com, Little Rock's average rent has increased 14.9% since March of 2020. The Center for Arkansas Legal Services says there's no real cap on rent prices in the state, which is one reason they can keep going up.
Arkansas renters don't have a lot of rights compared to renters in other states. That is objectively true.
The organization recommends renters read through everything and make sure all agreements are down on paper before signing a lease. Some encouraging news that could bring some relief. National experts believe prices will start to stabilize in the coming months. Nathan.
Well, you can see the radar lighting up. We got a potpourri of precipitation taking place across Arkansas, and this is just the beginning of the winter storm. I'll let you know what to expect through the rest of the day. As you can see here, this is from Interstate 630 on the RDOT camera. Things have really started to slow down, and that's because we just saw a round of heavy sleet. More winter weather is to come. I'll have more details next.